Okay. Are you ready?
Ready.
Magdziarz.
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 I hope you mess it up.
Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Let's Chat with Jbax with our first guest, Ryan Magdziarz. What's up, Ryan?
Nailed it. Yes. I'm your first guest.
Yeah.
I am honored.
Yeah, I'm excited it's you, to be honest, because we connected about guests like a few months ago in May, I think, June, and now it's coming full circle. So here we are.
Well, my podcast was getting boring with just me and my co-host, so guests are everything. So you're welcome.
You're the life of the party here.
I can't wait.
I would love to tell everyone how I stumbled upon you and how I know of you. And to me, I think it's a funny story. So let me know your thoughts.
It's probably hilarious.
So I stumbled upon you a few years ago because you played basketball with someone I went to middle school with.
Middle school was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. But I stumbled upon you and you were a hot boy with your shirt off on Instagram. And I was like,
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Shirt off on Instagram.
I'm like, this hot boy, I have to follow him. Like, why not? So I started following you, but I didn't actually watch your stories or watch your content that closely until the pandemic. I feel like the beginning of 2020. And then I started actually paying attention to what your stories were, and you started posting about all of these like self-help books you were reading. So The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and I actually had to look up how to pronounce his name too.
I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. I did not pronounce it like that. Eckhart Tolle?
Eckhart Tolle. That is what Siri told me like 30
Siri
minutes
never
ago.
lies.
Well, I started watching that, and then I think I messaged you and was like, let's talk about it. And I feel like we had a long conversation just about personal growth, self-growth. And eventually I was like, wow, Ryan's not just a hot boy. There's more to him. Like, well, who would have thought, right?
I know. Sometimes Instagram can be misleading, and I do post the occasional shirtless Instagram story at the pool. I love the pool, whatever. But yeah, I wasn't always this way. I started reading books. The Power of Now is special because it's like my first book I ever read since like Holes in the 7th grade. I hated reading. I hated being forced to read something that I wasn't interested in. But as my life went on and I learned more about myself, I started picking up these books that were kind of along the same thinking and along the same lines as self-growth. And I love The Power of Now.
What do you think you got out of The Power Now? Like the most out of it?
Sheesh. Well, it changed my life, so that's a good start.
In what way?
The whole premise is just being more in the now, and how the now is the only time that there ever will be ever. And my issue was a lot of like anxiety-based things, so worrying about the future. And mentally, I was not where I am now, sitting here talking on a show with you. I was worrying about something that was going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next month, whatever it was. But it just had so many ways, and the way he worded certain things just made me think about how far away from the now I was living my life. And a lot of people lived theirs in the past. Personally, that wasn't my thing. But the way he says it all makes sense and brings you back seated and grounded into the now, which I try to practice every day.
Do you have a certain thing that brings you back to the present? Because so many things can take you to the past and the future, but what actually brings you to the present now?
A lot of things. My breath is the number one thing, because hopefully I will always have it unless the wind is knocked out of me or I get hit or something, whatever. But another small thing, and it's a material thing, but it puts me in a different headspace, is coffee. I really like coffee, and I drink it pretty much every morning now. But it's always this mindset that I have when I drink it, and I think about what I'm going to do that day. I make a list, maybe, if it's busy. But for the most part, I just enjoy it as I'm drinking it. No other place I have to be, no other things I have to do. And I just fully embrace sipping my coffee until it's gone. Maybe I'm going on a walk in nature, which is great in the city where I live. But it just really brings me to focus on nothing but like the cup in front of me and where my feet are, where my butt is, where I'm sitting down, where I'm laying down, whatever the case may be. But coffee does that for me.
Do you find drinking coffee as like meditative? And I ask this because I've been trained in meditation, and every time they talk about like a drinking meditation, an active meditation, they bring up coffee and how it can feel when you actually think about it touching your lips, it going down your throat, the heat in your hand.
Yeah, well, I'm a team iced guy all year long.
Oh my God.
So it's never heated for me.
I'm going to have to just end this episode right now.
You could find that to do with anything. Like, it doesn't have to be coffee. Coffee's a good example, but like even this cup, I just feel it and I drink it. If I slowly like break it down to like truly feel everything, it sounds stupid, but feel everything, feel it in your hands, feel it go down your throat, like you were talking about. Anything can really bring you in the moment like that. So, but I do like it to taste good and give me energy.
Yeah. And you say like it sounds stupid, but I feel like that is what we mark those things as silly or dumb, but it doesn't have to be. It's however.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's how I am. I'm silly. I'm dumb. And I fully embrace that kind of stuff. I love it.
Yeah. Well, we talked about right before we started this, your mustache, and everyone who's not watching YouTube, Ryan has a sick mustache right now. Oh yes.
It is growing nicely.
It looks nice.
Yeah. I was telling you, I don't know. I just look at it and I think it's silly and it's whatever, but I like to be in that mindset. I don't always like to be serious and try to look hot or try to look good or whatever. It's a good reminder to just, nothing's that serious. Just be silly, have fun. And I think either I'm giving that vibe off to other people, but I see other people approach me more lighthearted or differently or with a smile on their face, or maybe I'm more welcoming. I don't know what it is, but I like it. So I'm keeping it for a while.
Well, I'm going to pose this question to you. So I just watched a documentary called Emotions 2.0. I believe it was on Amazon Prime. And they were talking about, being in the present moment and what you put out into the world. And, you've been doing all of this personal growth, working on your mental health and being present. Do you think that people are approaching you because you're giving off this high frequency of happiness or goofiness or whatever that you really want to put out into the world, that people are receiving that?
I do believe in that kind of stuff. Yes. Part of what puts me in that mindset is, yes, I've been working on that myself, but also surrounding my life with people that are the same way and hanging out with friends that have good intentions and are super positive and have a good outlook on life. And it's caused me to lose some friends, which at the beginning was an adjustment period. But in the long term, it's really worked out. And it's like you said, I don't know if it's tangible. I would like to believe that that is the case. And I surely believe that, but it could be just what I'm working on is working.
And you say that you lost friends. And I feel like that comes up a lot where people lose friends. And do you think that the people that you surround yourself with now are like long-term, or do you see, like, how do you see that?
100%. Yeah. I don't know. It's cliche to say my circle got smaller or tighter. I've never looked at my situation as like a circle. I've just tried to be nice to everybody. And obviously you have certain friends from certain walks of life, and there's from others and others and others. And they all kind of blend together. But as you grow, people's lives change. They meet significant others. They have kids. They start families, and priorities change. But my priorities: don't have a family, don't have kids yet, don't have a significant other. I'm just surrounded by people, not trying to gain anything, no hidden agendas. And the people that I surround myself don't have that either. It's just good quality friendship, caring for others. Obviously, similarities in minds. We like sports. We like watching sports. We drink coffee. We go out at night, whatever. But so much of it is who you surround yourself with. And I love that.
Yeah. And when you surround yourself with these people, like, do you find yourself having surface level conversations, or do you find yourself actually talking about your emotions or anxieties that you may be feeling in the world?
That is something that we have been working on and will always work on. that's something that I have worked on myself in the past 2 years. And that's part of my biggest growth is a lot of the times that guys don't feel really comfortable talking about that stuff with other guys. And I think that I discovered that that's helped me a lot individually, is being able to talk about my emotions, my feelings, what comes up in my everyday life. And so I have kind of put together a group of guys that talk about that on a weekly basis. And also my close friends, we talk about that all the time. Sometimes it's harder, and sometimes some guys are more closed off at the beginning, and it can be like pulling teeth. But that's how I was. So I'm patient through the whole thing. I know not everybody's created the same. I try to work on my patience because I've been through it. And because I've been through it, my empathy is also growing, which I think is good and something that I can work on. But everybody's different. And it's super interesting how people's brains work and how certain people communicate. Some people are just open books and would love to share what's going on with them. Other people's you kind of have to poke and prod and give time to before they open up.
And like, how do you get them to open up? Like, do you ask specific questions? Have you found, like, saying like, how do you feel, that they open up to that, or it takes maybe comfortability after a few times meeting with you guys?
It definitely takes comfortability. It did for me. It's different for everybody. But I feel that if I approach the situation or the group meeting or the one-on-one coffee date or whatever it is with being open-minded and giving them, knowing that I have patience for them and they don't have to tell me stuff until they're ready, that's fine. Because I understand, I get it. It's hard, especially things that are like deep down that you've struggled with for a while or maybe haven't told anybody yet. It's uncomfy. But that's kind of what I have learned to love is being comfy, being uncomfy, getting comfortable doing the uncomfortable thing. It is hard at the beginning and it has a sort of momentum to it. You do it once, you think, holy shit, how am I going to do that again? And then the next time gets a little easier. The momentum slows down. Next time gets a little easier to the point where it gets routine to do things that were once uncomfy. So it's different, but I don't have any magic words or magic ways or any extra charisma that I woo on people. I just let them know that whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Sometimes it takes, some of my friends still aren't ready. That's fine. Some of the people I meet with still aren't ready. We talk about stuff, but I have all the time in the world. So it's really up to them. You can want change for somebody so much, but they really have to truly want it themselves in order to take a step for that. So I'm just ready and available whenever they are.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're giving them the space to be available. And I think that's what's really important, because in a lot of relationships or friendships or just conversations with strangers, people are very quick to just jump to, oh, well, a solution, or like, are you not going to talk about it? So they'll just shut themselves off. But actually providing them the space, even if that means you're sitting in silence, I think that's like the most powerful thing, is you ask a question. And if they're not ready to answer, then you don't say it again. You just sit there with them.
Right.
And then it allows them.
I have learned a lot of interpersonal stuff from actually my ex-girlfriend, who is amazing. We still have really good relationships, really healthy. But she is like the most empathetic person that I've ever met. And before, where I was kind of like, I would give them time, but I would kind of get impatient and want help for them so bad that I'd be really eager to just like, hey, you got to do this. You got to do this now. But you nailed it. Giving them the space and feeling like they can be heard when they want to be heard is everything. And so there's no rush. And all anybody ever has is time. So when they're ready, they'll open up and they'll be ready. And I'll be ready myself, because I have been for eternity, it seems like.
Yeah. And I mean, practicing patience, like, it takes so long to actually master patience.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you tell yourself? Do you have an affirmation? Do you journal about it? What do you state to remind yourself to be patient? Or do you think that you kind of have it locked in now?
That's a good question, because I'm big on affirmations. Are you big on affirmations?
Oh, you know, I'm the affirmation queen. Come on.
It works for me.
Yeah.
Like having something that is just easily, quickly said in your head to like bring you back to, oh yeah, I've been working on this. This is the way to go. Meditation has helped me with that a lot. Meditation creates space that you normally wouldn't feel. But my whole, I don't know if I do like affirmations, but my number one thing that I think of off the top of my head is it's a feeling versus your thinking brain, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's not something that you can think of to say, or there's no magic words that your brain can come up with. It's more of just almost shutting your brain off and feeling or knowing that this is the right thing to do. And when I just explained giving them space and whenever they're ready, I'm ready, that is the feeling that I'm describing. Because now I'm not in a rush to help them. I do want the best for them. But I've realized that if they'll do it when they're ready. And they'll change when they're ready to change. And when they reach that breaking point, they reach the breaking point and they'll know who to come to. But that's more of a feeling. I didn't really come up with that in my mind. It's just something that I know to be true based off a feeling I have.
And did you ever feel like uncomfortable in those moments where it's like, you have a feeling of patience or you have a feeling of the quietness that you can be in? Did you
Mm-hmm.
ever feel like uncomfortable sitting in that space?
When it was with me and my own stuff, yeah. And I would sometimes, like when I first started out with meditation and working on the patience part, if I didn't see like immediate progress, or if it took a while to make a difference or to see a difference in my everyday life, I would start to get a little impatient and get frustrated. Be like, okay, well, is this even doing anything? Am I even doing this right? But the more I just shut my brain off and said, yeah, if it's right, it's right. Even if it's not right, that's okay. Totally accepting of both ways. It could be right, it could be wrong, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. And that's how it is. So you just got to accept it. Once I did that, that's when everything started clicking. When I wasn't resisting anything, or when I wasn't having a problem with the way things were, that allowed me to just be like, oh, there's no problem if I don't make there a problem. So that allows me to, towards other people, not be impatient or not, and just know that everything, both ways. If they're ready, they're ready. If they're not, they're not. Both ways are acceptable. And that kind of makes there seem like there's no rush.
Yeah. And you said that you tried again and again and again. And I
Hmm.
feel like, a lot of people would give up in that sense. A lot
Oh,
of people
for
do
sure.
give up. What's something that really kept you going, or what advice can you give to someone who has tried meditation or has tried, let's even say like working out or just trying to work on self-help, but they feel like they're not growing, they're not going anywhere? What's the additional push?
That's tough. And I would say you have to just want change more than you don't like how your life is going right now. And whatever aspect of life that is. It's like it's measurable. It's gotta be, you gotta want it bad enough more than it actually sucks right now.
Mhm.
And as long as one outweighs the other, you're gonna lean towards getting better, sticking to it, pushing through that plateau that you think you might have. Because that's what worked for me. My stuff was anxiety based. And I knew that my current state that I was in and what I was struggling with sucked. I hated it. And I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be different more than it felt good to just give up, or to just not sit down and meditate today, or just not go to the gym and work out today, or just not go get shots up for basketball. Like I wanted to change more than how bad it sucked. So that's what I would say, and that's what worked for me.
Do you think the like meditation really helped with anxiety, like pull you out
Yeah.
of the space?
Yeah. Uh, I started kind of the self growth journey like 2 years ago now,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit over 2 years. And I first went to see a therapist, and that was a huge step for me because that's like, in my mind, that was like taboo. And like, if you go talk to somebody, you go talk to a therapist, you're kind of crazy. You
Yeah.
got issues, or it's
Yeah.
whatever the
The
case may be.
stigma.
Yeah. But I did it and I felt so good. And I had never said the things to a human being before that I said for the first time. And it was like 100% normal. Like every human being goes through stuff like that. But that's when I was introduced to meditation. And they gave me Headspace, the app, to
Mhm.
try. And I loved it. Not right away. It took me probably 3 or 4 sessions, just little 5-minute sessions. Hello, Kitty.
Walter wants to join the party.
Walter. I love him. 3 or 4 times before I noticed a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And the first difference I noticed was physical. My hands and my feet were totally still. And I used to be a guy like tap around, like fidgety,
The fidgeter.
messing with my pen like this. Like, yeah, I would do that like subconsciously. I wouldn't even realize I'd do it. But after like the 3rd or 4th time, I noticed that I do this with my hands when I meditate all the time, just rest them. And they were completely still. And then I noticed that because they tell you to do a body scan towards the beginning. And my feet and my hands were still. And it was almost like it had like it was like a physical feeling of stillness. I don't know how to describe it. But that's when I was like, okay, my mind and my brain is doing something and it's taking an effect on my body. And as soon as you see like a little sliver, just like working out, you see a little difference in your aesthetics or the way you look, that's enough fuel to keep you going. And then you get momentum. You notice another change. You notice more striations, or you notice you getting bigger, whatever the case may be. And you just want to keep going. And so that's what I noticed about meditation is the first thing was my hands and feet. The next thing was no issue seemed out of control. Everything seemed manageable. I was able to create space in my everyday life. Either if adversity hits, it's not the end of the world, or something happens, I just had space to like sit back and like view it versus not being right in it. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you moved more from a reactive mind to a reflective mind.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like that's where a lot of us live in, is the reactive mind. And it's so easy to jump to conclusions, or I like to say, life is a mirror, and which it is, because every time an interaction or a conversation you have, you are getting something out of it and you are reacting to it every single time. And even regardless if you're like reflecting on it, you're still reacting.
Yeah.
But like the way that you can actually sit back and look at it holistically versus putting a spin of your projections, that sounds like meditation kind of shifted your mindset in that way.
It did. And I think I remember talking to you about that part in Power Up Now is like being the watcher, being the watcher of your thoughts, being the watcher of everything that's happening to you. There's an analogy that I love about this. It's like you're in the middle of a rainstorm. It's thunder, lightning, hail, sleet on top of you, and you don't have an umbrella, and you're just chilling there getting pelted by raindrops. You're in the storm. It sucks. You're wet. You're soaking. Versus being in your nice, cozy living room on a big L couch with a fireplace going, chill as can be, watching the storm out of your window. That's the difference. It's like you have all this space and this shelter, and knowing that everything's going to be okay. Clear image of the storm happening, but it's the same storm, just a different perspective.
Well, let me put a spin on it then. If you're in the storm, so say you're not in this safe house where you're watching the storm and you are cozy with a fire and maybe you have a late night coffee, but you're out in the storm and you're getting pelted on, the rain's coming at you and you're just in the thick of it. How do you deal with that? You don't have any protection right now, but how do you deal with the storm just shaking on you?
Yeah. So that used to be what it felt like. And sometimes on bad days, it wants to rear its ugly head and feel like that again. The practice of meditation over time has got me to adjust my default settings to realize that you don't have to feel like that. You don't have to be in that space. It's easier said than done when you're in it. When you're in it, it sucks. When you're in it, you feel like there's no escape sometimes. And it is a lot. But that's the importance of meditation over time. It's not fixing something that's a direct issue now. It's more reps and practice for when you experience that later on in your life. I would say, or try to have the perspective of, if you are in it and you're just starting out practicing meditation and are new to maybe some ways to cope with some stress like that, perspective is everything.
Mhm.
And if you can, I would just remember the affirmation of create space or change your perspective. This isn't everything. Even though this is you stuck in the rain, getting struck by lightning, having no umbrella, it doesn't have to be this dramatic or this overwhelming thing. You can create space, or in this silly message we're having, you could build a house
Metaphor.
for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could build a house, you could go inside. It's not, you're in it and you're in the thick of it, but just know that there is a release. You can create space. You can create shelter for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's how I see it, where it's like, if you are in this shitstorm and everything's coming at you from every single way, the wind is blowing, you're trying to hold your ground. Something that I learned is just like, let it wash over you. And perspective, like you said, it's a perspective. Maybe I don't have a house, or the house is far away and I want to build it, but it may be too long for me to build this house. So instead of looking at this rainstorm, this thunder and lightning storm as a negative or something that's really going to bring me down, you're learning from it. What can you learn? What can you grow from? And then you can kind of smile and walk into the house, be like, okay, I can actually take a few steps forward to walk into this safe space, because you did create space for yourself. When it was hard, you allowed yourself to create space in this rainstorm, but then you're able to take that space and go into a comfort of a home.
Yes, that's fantastic. And I try to do the same thing. I had a basketball coach when I was younger say, embrace the suck, which basically means, like, yeah, it sucks. Nobody wants to be caught in the rain, but your own resistance to the storm and the rain and how much you're thinking, I don't want to be out here. This weather sucks. This is shitty. I'm soaking wet. I don't want to be here. Try your best to just think about, like you said, flipping it, the good things. No resistance. Yeah, I'm stuck in the rain right now, but there's nothing I can do right now. I'm not going to be able to build a house in 30 seconds. Like, I'm getting rained on. And it's almost like the rain isn't the problem. It's your resistance to the rain, or how much you're thinking you don't want to be stuck in the rain is the issue that you're creating. Because everybody could be thinking of a different scenario that they'd like to be in, but that's not what's actually happening.
Yeah. God.
I like Walter right there.
He literally just wants attention. But no, I think that's a good perspective. And it's about changing the perspective. I mean, embracing the suck, but like, instead of saying over and over again, this is the worst thing ever, I can't believe we're stuck here doing this, how can you twist it? And that's something that I find myself doing. I think I'm almost annoying in a sense, where someone will come to me and say, this shit sucks. I hate this. I'm so over it. And I don't even allow myself to think those words anymore, or think that way, because things are challenging. Things suck sometimes. But in that aspect, it's hard, but like, what did I learn from that? What can I apply, whether it's from meditation, an affirmation? What can I do to take steps forward in the right direction so it doesn't suck that bad?
Yeah. What if you pretend like you're in the Sahara Desert? You needed this rain for 3 years.
Yeah. And when there's rainstorms, I mean, what is it? A rainbow comes afterwards, like brightness comes. And I think like I was struggling with a lot of, I was sad. I was going through a breakup. I just had a lot of self-doubt in me the past few months, and it was raining on me. And, I could have let that get to me. I could have sat in my room for a long time, but instead I took it. I journaled a shit ton about it. I meditated about it. I made podcasts about it, and I released all of that. And now I can say, holy shit, I have excelled myself from this type of storm, which I'm laughing that we're still on the metaphor.
Long ass metaphor.
Damn, it is, but it's a good metaphor. I love this metaphor. But now I'm on top of the rainbow.
Also, when I think about that, it sucks, but every time you do that, or like you get through something like that, that's like a rep. Another rep makes you stronger. Another rep makes you stronger. Yeah, it's tedious, and yeah, you're going to have to do 1,000 reps or whatever. But if you just take it one step at a time, you're going to get stronger and better and stronger and better and stronger and better, and you're going to grow to where that rainstorm just diminishes over time to be so manageable.
Yeah. Okay, I'm down with the rain.
That was good.
The rain, so it was good. I'm gonna use that. I'll make sure I blast this rainstorm out to everyone. Have you heard about the rainstorm? But I do want to kind of talk a little bit more about the men's group, just because I think it's super important, and I want to kind of break down the stigma, because there is such a stigma of male mental health. And like, where do you think that comes from, and how do you specifically identify?
I think it's pretty old school. I think that like probably our age, like our dads were like just raised to be like the men of the family and be tough, have no feelings, never let anybody see you hurt or cry or anything like that, being able to provide for your family, be the protector. And I think that's where it's came from. But now, I don't know, I was raised that way too. And over time and just going through my life, I have realized that it's hard to keep those emotions bottled up. And it's hard to open up to people and share those emotions based on how you were raised. And obviously there are labels that are put on it, like that's bad. You're not supposed to do that. And I think that's what every guy, based on where you grew up or what region you grew up in or how old you are, but I think that's a very common thing for guys, is to be raised to not show emotion. But it's hard to open up and share that stuff. That takes toughness. And that is something that I have really grown with, to where I am open enough to share a lot of things with a lot of different guys, my friends, this men's group that I started. And it's refreshing. It's like literally you can feel weight come off of you for not having to hold on to something or bottle something up or add unnecessary pressure to what probably is an already stressful life that people live every day.
Do you think it's easier for you to open up to guys than it is to females? Or do you find that you're able to kind of do both now because of this males group?
I would say probably easier to open up with females because they're the more feminine archetype, more emotional. Guys, I can do also, and it's completely changed for me. And that's what I'm trying to change for other guys too. But with the guys, I think it could be on a deeper level because we're the same. We're guys. We have a lot more in common. Our brains, for the most part, are wired very similarly, more similarly than guys versus girls. So when it's easier to open up with girls because they can stand the empathetic parts and the emotional parts more, you can get really deep with guys, especially bonding over that aspect that I've never talked about this before with anybody, let alone another guy. You're always supposed to like shoot the shit and be tough guys with each other, really competitive, but it's something really cool and really special when you open up with a bunch of guys, like a group of guys, and talk about real deep shit that is really opening for some people, including me.
You said empathy for women. Women can express empathy more than guys. But have you found in these conversations that the people in your group are actually bringing that empathy with them and they're expressing that, or maybe they're growing into it?
100% growing into it, yes. Everybody's different though. Like I used to be a guy that did not show empathy and was like a tough guy that just tried to put my head down and get through it and be tough about it. But understanding that somebody might be going through something that is extremely hard for them and having them being heard is everything. And so if you are unwilling to hear them out, they don't feel heard. So they don't share stuff. You can't get deep. It's like you're just hitting rock bottom and it's pretty shallow. But I take my thing. So what I think about is maybe I can't relate to somebody with a certain problem that they have. but I have my own problems that other people thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
Like my anxiety stuff with like the traveling aspect, which I'm still
Mm-hmm.
trying to get better at, and I have taken huge steps from. But like I relate that to maybe somebody has a problem with performance anxiety. They get really nervous on stage or really nervous with the ball in their hands and all the fans looking at them. I don't have an issue with that, but I have an issue with other things that brings me huge empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't have a problem getting on a plane and flying somewhere, but that gets me anxious sometimes. So I just think, okay, well, he probably feels the same way that I do about traveling, but with this. So if I look through that lens, I have all the patience in the world because it sucks. And just because it's from a different source or the trigger is different, it's all the same.
Yeah. And that, I love that different lens, because when I think of it as, or I did think of it as before you said this, is I couldn't relate to a lot. I've been having a lot of deep conversations with amazing new females in my life, and a lot of things I cannot relate to. And I give them the space, they are heard, but there's a lot of times where I just don't respond back. And we've talked about this. We're like, I don't know what to say, but I'm here and I feel you and I hear you. And thank you for sharing and allowing the space. But taking, something very similar, whether it be anxieties or whatever the case may be, and looking at it through that lens, I think can even elevate the empathy level.
Oh yeah. That's what makes me feel it so strongly. Yeah. I would not wish this upon anybody. Like having the anxiety that I had, and it's getting much better, and pushing through things that you're uncomfy doing, that is key. That's what's helped me grow. But at the beginning, it sucked. And so if somebody else is going through that and I know the feeling, how could I not put myself in their shoes and be like, man, I can't imagine. That's insane that you're going through that. And once they feel heard, that's when the real growth starts. That's when the real conversation starts, because you're relating to them about similar traumas or similar pain that you guys experience. Having it be different is a different story, but it's all the same. The relatives, basically.
Do you find yourself, with that being said, giving advice, or do you find yourself kind of on the level of, do you want advice or do you want to just be heard? I mean, it's a little bit of both, but
yeah, it's tricky sometimes. Wording matters. I've learned.
Oh yeah.
The way you word things is big. I like to listen, and I like to hear them, and I try to soak up everything they said, try to relate to it as much as possible. But I do think that some of the growth that I've gone through could be beneficial to other people. I've benefited from it so much, and I feel it, and I know it to be true, that if telling my story or telling people what I've been through can trigger anything inside of them to help them grow an ounce, it would be worth it. So I like to listen to them and hear them out first, and then share some of my stories. And different things work for different people. So I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't share some of my stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, I like to hear them out. And if they say, yeah, that didn't really work for me, totally understandable. And we can try to work through what you like, what you don't like, how you feel, and maybe formulate something along those lines to better help their personal growth.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways to help someone. It's either, you give them back advice. And I know I find myself saying, first I'll hear them out, and then they'll kind of stop, but they'll stop on a point that I have to ask, well, how does that make you feel? And sometimes it stumps people if they haven't talked to me, and I'm just like, well, you just shared this, but like, how does it truly make you feel? And if they say anxious, I'm like, well, why does it make you feel anxious? So at that point I hear them, but I want to dive deeper into their senses. And there's sometimes where I'm like, do you even want advice from me? And sometimes people will be like, honestly, no, like, just thank you for letting me speak those out. Yeah. For listening, because I'm all about, if you are dealing with something and you want to share it 10 times, share it 10 times. because you're going to have different like realizations or reflections each time. And each time you share it, you're going to discover something different, and you're going to actually get to a different point that you probably need to get to. And something that sticks out really, really just brightly to me is I was talking to my friend, and she was going through some relationship issues, and we talked about it for 2 hours over and over again on loop. And we were walking back from a drink, and she was like, holy shit, I just had so many realizations. I have to go home and journal about this. I have to get it out and speak it out. And I'm like, fuck yeah. That's what this is. That's why you talk about your feelings and your emotions and your anxieties.
It's crazy that a lot of people probably don't know this, but like if you've never said anything out loud or to anybody else, just saying it out loud and hearing yourself say it and then seeing the person listen to you is like therapeutic.
Yeah, I just got chills literally thinking about that.
Yeah,
like
you can't like imagine it. You just have to do it. And once you do it and experience it, then it'll hit you like, oh, that's beneficial and that's gonna help me.
Yeah. And I mean, it all comes back to like being heard. Like I feel like in society, it's a fast-paced society. Everyone's go, go, go. No one's giving you your full attention.
Right.
A lot of times it's just in passing, but actually sitting down, putting your phone down and like having this conversation with someone and letting them just lay it out with patience, the impact it has on that person is exponential.
I'm a big no phones guy.
I found it hard
no phones guy.
to not like, I've been more present. So I found it hard to actually be active on social media.
Yeah.
Do you find that you've shifted with like,
I go through ups and downs with that. Social media is fun. I have a blast on it and I treat it lighthearted. I don't treat it super serious. I post whatever. If you like it, great. If you don't, great. But like I was big on Twitter. I'm a big NBA guy. I talk about basketball all the time. It's a long story. I'm suspended forever on Twitter. I didn't have the rights to the music that I was putting for our podcast. And so they banned me. They flagged like 7 episodes of our stuff. Long story short, I don't have Twitter anymore. Banned me forever. I have to hire a lawyer and shit to get my Twitter back if I want it. Like, okay, that's too much work. I just won't talk on the internet anymore. So Twitter's gone. I'm not getting a TikTok, and that's like the big thing that kids are doing these days. All I have is Instagram. You're a big TikToker.
I got one. I did a hot girl video. Got a million views. So,
holy shit.
Oh yeah, but then it got taken down because it was too hot girl.
Too hot. Yeah.
But you have a TikTok.
I don't have.
Or you have an Instagram.
And that's all I have right now. And I have, obviously, it's fun, like I said, and I have certain benefits. Like I have clothing companies that I partner with, and they give me cool, fun stuff, and I post pictures of it. It's great. But I always just find myself like, what if I just deleted it for a month and went to an island and just existed in real life? That sounds appealing. And then I go through stuff where it's like, oh, my friends are all on Instagram. I can't miss something. This is just too much fun. I don't want to give it up. So I'm back and forth. I'm up and down with that. I love the idea of off grid. It might be something that I try out, see how I like it. It's tough though, because Instagram's fun.
And that would require you to travel and be totally.
Which is amazing. So it might be a blessing.
Have you mastered your fear?
I'm getting there. I don't know. I mean, being a master of my fear would make my life absolutely complete.
Yeah.
It's almost like I've discovered that the things that make you the most uncomfortable are the things that you absolutely have to do. And traveling is one of them for me. This past August, so a month and a half ago, was one of the biggest growth months of my life in terms of traveling. Went to Phoenix, Arizona, went to Austin, Texas, and went to West Palm Beach, Florida. All hot places because I hate the cold. But was amazing. And I put all that on my plate thinking, holy shit, like 1 is a lot for me, 3 in 1 month. But I did it. And every one of them was amazing. And yeah, I had anxiety sometimes, but my relationship with my anxiety has completely changed. the more I push myself to do things that bring me anxiety, that bring me uncomfort or discomfort, the better it gets. And the more holy shit, I'm Superman feeling I get when I push through those things. So that's the key, man. That gets me going. It might suck. It might feel impossible. But if you can just push through the stuff that's the most uncomfortable, that's going to be the stuff that's the most rewarding.
Wow. I mean, like, that's powerful.
Oh my gosh. I think it's the most powerful thing that I've ever experienced before. And I'm not even scratching the surface. Like, I have a Cabo trip planned for November, which is out of the country, which is another big step. Croatia is my number one spot that I want to go to in the entire world, probably. Yeah, I want to be on a boat and listen to great music and bask in the sun. But like, that's something that seems extremely doable now. The more I keep pushing myself to do things I don't want to do, the more I keep bursting out of my uncomfort zone. And so, like, never would I ever thought I'd go 17 hours, however long it is, to Croatia, but man, I want to.
And that's, you're living in the uncomfort then.
Yes.
The things that you can do and grow within that 17-hour period, and unless you take one of those, was it Dramamines, or it puts you out?
Unless somebody hits me in the head with a hammer and I'm unconscious for the whole flight, which would be great.
Is that what you're into?
If it gets me there alive, I'm all for it.
What do you tell yourself when you're feeling those massive anxieties kind of coming over you, or at least trying to creep in?
Yeah. So what makes it worse is resistance. Resistance in itself is a big affirmation for me. If I catch myself resisting what is in any day life, that's when I'm like, okay, well, this is just the way it is. It might not be what my brain thought it would be, but if I have a problem with the way I thought it would be versus how it is, I'm just creating a problem myself. Mm-hmm. So when anxiety rises up, sick, anxiety's here. Nothing I can do. It's just the way it is. And that brings down this wall and this protection of me protecting myself or my ego. The power of now says your ego is trying to protect you. Mm-hmm. But once I stop with the resistance of what I'm scared of, I'm not scared of it anymore. It's not a thing. It's me creating the thing. Mm-hmm. So anxiety's here. Great. I'm just going to sit with it. Nothing lasts forever. Everything is constantly changing. Everything's going to be okay. And when I say that to myself, I might still be feeling anxious, but nothing I can do. It's here. Yeah. Oh, well, it's like a little buddy. And then me not resisting it over time goes away. It gets better. Everything changes. Nothing's constant and nothing's forever. So it takes time. It takes practice. It takes reps. But if you can change, in my case, if you could change your relationship with the anxiety or with the pain, it doesn't even have to be anxiety, depression, whatever it is that you're going through, change your relationship with that to not resist it anymore, it dissolves and disappears.
And I need to reference a book that's a children's book.
I love it.
Because of how you said, like, it's your buddy. Mm-hmm. And your resistance, you're not going to resist anymore. Your buddy's there with you. And this children's book is about the monster beside me, I think it was called. I
already love it. I'm already in on this book.
And it's just this giant fuzzball of a monster who's large and in charge, so much bigger than you. And the kid's scared. So the kid's hiding from this monster, but the monster keeps finding him. And then finally the kid's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to face this monster. So the kid walks up to this monster, looking up at him because the monster's so big, and says, like, hey, I'm not afraid of you. And they start having a relationship together where, like, they're just friends, they're buddies, they're hanging out. And this big ass monster, this fluff ball, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So instead of this kid running away from this big monster, the monster's actually sitting in his pocket because he is always there. But now they're just friends and they're working together versus him running away from it.
This is an amazing book. What's this book?
I will find the name and I'll get it to you.
Please do. I love it. That's so true. That was like I mentioned that the last 2 years I've worked on myself.
Yeah.
Before that, the last 10 was me avoiding what I was scared of. I avoided traveling. I would turn down going to see my family because I wouldn't travel. I turned down going on away bus trips and plane trips for basketball. Like I was avoiding it at all costs. And that it makes it worse. It makes it grow. The monster is huge. So this West Palm Beach trip that I mentioned was the first time that I saw the beach in 10 years. I woke up at sunrise at like 6 a.m., saw the beach for the first time and cried.
I'm gonna cry for you.
It was amazing. Feet in the sand, cold water. It was all orange. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God. I love that you experienced that. And what a way, what a reward.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's the background of my phone.
Let's see it.
If I can get all these notifications out of the way.
Wow. Holy shit. That's amazing.
What I saw. Yeah. It was powerful. I loved it. 10 years.
10 years.
Not going to the ocean or the beach. And I love palm trees, tropical, ocean, sand, beach. Yes, I love all that stuff. And the last 10 years, it's what I've like fantasized about doing and dreaming about doing. And 8, 9 years of avoiding it at all costs. And then 2 years of self-growth, flipping the switch, meditating on it, dreaming about it. And then on test day, which was August, whatever, it was like, okay, I'm doing this. And everything that I've worked on the past 2 years is here now. And I'm doing it. When I arrived, it was amazing. Woke up, went to the beach. Super powerful.
Wow. Like you worked so hard for that.
That's what made me cry like a baby. I was like, holy shit, Ryan, you are completely different now. And you did this shit.
Yeah. And you literally get to look back on all of that growth, because that's one thing that really, really defines you or defined you.
Yes,
And
it
you
was my
worked at it.
identity for the longest time.
Yeah.
And you know, those reps I was talking about, going to the beach was a fucking max out rep that I did. And the more you see change like that and go your way, the more you want to keep doing it. It's almost like the rich get richer. And I'm trying to get rich with this.
That was your PR.
It was my absolute PR, yes.
You said it. I was like, this joke is going to hit so good. Well, Ryan, you have been inspiring. This has been incredible. And I really want to leave our listeners with just one thing that you could leave them, one piece of advice, a mantra, whatever it may be, that helps you thrive.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And every day, I center my life around this self-growth stuff and these affirmations and meditation and trying to work on things to improve. I think that perspective is an underrated term that people kind of forget. Like I don't even know how many people there are. It changes every month, but like if I just throw out 9 billion people on Earth, does that sound accurate?
7 billion.
So, okay, I overshot it. 7 billion people on Earth, and all 7 billion have their own lens that they look through life through. Like we could be looking at this cup and have totally different grasps on if we like it or not, if it holds water good enough, whatever the case may be. But everybody has perspective of their own, and it can be changed. It can be altered. You control that. And so the same shit could happen to 2 different people. One person could complain about it. One person could be ecstatic about it. One person could be honed in on this small issue and have it ruin their whole day, when the other can look at the massive picture and think, this is absolutely nothing. So zooming out your perspective, people get stressed out about their jobs every day. Their dog poops in the house, they think it's the end of the world. You cross the street and somebody honks at you and get mad and, oh my gosh, I'm so flustered. That's a little thing that happens in a massive picture of what's going on in your entire life. So if you just realize, create some space, zoom out, everything's always going to be okay. And even if it's not, it is okay. And it might not feel like it is, but it's okay. And I think that zooming out your perspective and having more of a light-hearted joy, ease, and lightness to situations is life-changing.
I'm gonna cry. That was so good.
I didn't know what I was saying, but that's what I feel.
You crushed it. You crushed it.
Well, thank you.
Oh my God. I'm going to re-listen to that over and over again and cry on my own terms. Oh my God. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me here. This is like kind of one of the first times that I've talked about this kind of stuff, and I need to be doing it more. So I'm glad that I'm your first guest, and really this is my first appearance on anything like this. So I appreciate it.
Well, I hope that this has helped so many people. I know I have been inspired. I've had butterflies and my heart's beating super fast because I'm like, holy shit, this is so good. And you have spit so much mad fire from your mouth to my ears and hopefully to others. And I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you again. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to do my sign off. You want to do it with me? Do you know my sign off? Peace, love.
No, tell me.
Okay. Well, I usually just say peace, love. And then you got to go, and then you can just do it with me.
What do I do?
You got to stick your tongue out and go,
Okay, I'm ready. After you say love?
Peace, love.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to Let's Chat with Jbax. Peace, love.
Was that good? Did I kill that?